So my name's Katie Carpenter, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the Executive Director of Perennial, and I got connected with STL Mutual Aid during the pandemic. And so we had multiple Perennial members who were a part of St. Louis Mutual Aid. I took sort of a personal interest. I tried some things where I was delivering food as part of the food share systems, attended a few meetings. And then got connected with Leah Clyburn, and we did a really cool community project in our Open Studio program too. Cool. Yeah. So Leah had a connection where she had a old futon that she was like ready to be done with, and it needed a little work, and she was wondering if we could turn it into something that would be great for the mutual aid space. And or someone that needed it. Either way, we're kind of figuring that out. And so she brought it in. We had some amazing teaching artists work with us during our community workshop time, where people can kind of bring in their own reuse projects, use our tools, use our space, work with our instructors to build whatever they are dreaming about. And so we did some really cool reupholstering where we were taking different fabric samples, designing out this new piece to just kind of give it some new life, some new energy, some new creativity. And then it ended up, for a while at least, living at the STL Mutual Aid office as just a place for, hey, what's better for community than a giant futon that everybody can sit on together? So Perennial is all about teaching people how to find the potential in the waste around us. And so a lot of times people will start by finding Perennial and saying, oh, do you guys take donations? And we do take donations. We always have a list on our website of different craft materials we're accepting, or other sort of common household items that you might not even associate with art, like metal baking pans or t-shirts. But we try to keep that updated all the time. But really, Perennial is about teaching people to find that potential, because we are a tiny team. We are not able to repurpose everything that ends up in the landfill. And so we're all about creating ambassadors that can go do creative reuse in their own lives. So a lot of times people already have the creativity. They already want to be more resourceful, and we're just bridging that gap by giving them the skills they need to make it happen. Some of the main goals of Perennial, I'd say on paper, it looks like we're helping people divert waste and build more sustainable habits. And I think that is totally true. A lot of times people will find us because they just want to learn how to make a mosaic, and they're not even realizing that they're making it completely with repurposed materials. And so that is sort of a bonus element to Perennial. I think once people have taken classes, they realize how accessible this type of art is, and how easy it is to build new pathways in your brain. Once you've started seeing potential in one thing that you throw away, you start seeing it everywhere. It's sort of contagious in a really exciting way. And I think that one of the goals that maybe doesn't get talked about as much, but is really important to me and to our staff here at Perennial, is to build community. So it's really important that we, in an effort to be friendly and safe and welcoming to beginners and to people who have maybe not had access to these art forms in the past, it's really important that we keep our class sizes small, that people are able to ask questions and make connections. Yes, there's always an instructor who has the skills to teach the activity or the art, but there might be someone sitting next to you who has a totally different way of doing it, or a different sustainability experience that they're ready to share. And so we want to create a space where those connections can happen. I think when you put people in a room together that have a passion for art and sustainability, they come from all over the place and different backgrounds, but it's the best people. They're so cool. I think that one thing I've learned through Perennial and sourcing materials is that we have enough stuff. I think a lot of people, for various reasons, sort of operate from a scarcity mindset. And I, both in my nonprofit work and community work, have found that there is abundance. it just isn't necessarily spread out evenly. And so I think that my relationship with mutual aid is that people should have enough because we have enough. And so I think that there's a lot of people that believe that, but we need more facilitators to make it happen. I feel that way about sustainability as well. I'm seeing such a surge in demand for perennial services because people want to be more sustainable, but they don't necessarily know where to start. And so I was really excited to learn about mutual aid because it was a way to put those feelings and theories into action and really get materials, food, resources where they needed to go. Because again, I think starting from a place that the thought that we don't have enough is actually a fallacy. So that's my thought. I think that Perennial is a really interesting nonprofit model because it seems simple, but we really believe in creative reuse for all. And I think that rather than us being a place where people with abundance give and then we give to people without abundance, this is a place for everyone to learn together and to have people self-select what works for them. So I'm thinking about our clothing swaps as a really good example. So we have been doing clothing swaps at Perennial for about 10 years, and they started as kind of a fun event. They've evolved into really being an event that promotes the circular economy and gives people a reliable alternative to fast fashion. And we've had, because the demand for those swaps has increased so much, we've had requests to say, oh, they're so busy, they sell out, you should just raise your ticket prices, or you should have a different tier, and we've experimented with some of that to see what works with us for our capacity, and we are a nonprofit, there are financial needs that we have, but the magic of those swaps is that they have people from all socioeconomic backgrounds and different reasons for being there, just swapping right next to each other and sharing their stuff with their neighbors. And so you might be there because you are part of the St. Louis Fashion Fund and you are putting together the most magnificent outfits, or you might be there because your body just went through a transition and you can't afford a completely new wardrobe, but you need one to feel good. And so I think that I'm bringing that up as an example because we'd rather give people access to the materials or to what they need for people to self-select rather than saying, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that we got and now it's for you to deal with. And so I think we're really trying to build a new model for how we think about stuff and what has value. So you're right, things get overlooked and they don't, they maybe have value we don't realize, and sometimes we're here to help show what that value is. And other times, we're here to remind you that, if no one has a value for something at the end of a life cycle, how can we make decisions differently to not have purchased it in the first place if we don't know where it's going to end up at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
I think it totally did. Yeah, it touched on that.
We at Perennial, we have a lot of students who either say, "Oh, no one ever taught me how to sew," or "My mom taught me how to sew, but now it's time for me to relearn how to sew from someone who's not my mom." Not because she's not great, but because maybe I have a different learning style with someone that's related to me. And really, so many of the art forms that Perennial teaches are a little bit more in the domestic world than the capital A art world, which honestly sometimes makes it hard to prove our value as well, because we're really at that intersection of beauty and function. So not to say there's not some classes that are purely creative or some classes that are purely functional, but a lot of times we're meeting in the middle to find that relationship. And we've really, there have been people that, like you said, have never had the chance to learn, or maybe for societal reasons have felt excluded from whatever it is. We have a lot of people that come in, they feel safe in this space, but it is the very first time they've ever set foot in a wood shop. And we want to make sure that they are comfortable asking questions, that they do not feel like anyone is being condescending to them. That we see that a lot with home repair. You know, we want to empower people, even if you're not going to go put up all your own drywall, we want you to feel comfortable having those conversations with the professionals where you feel like you're getting the information you need or you're asking the right questions. And then the other thing is just continuing to credit the cultures that have brought these art forms to us and have carried them through generations. Perennial has an emphasis on a lot of our teaching artists are self-taught, and there's real value there. I'm not so worried about where they graduated from. I'm worried about if they are a excellent teacher that is going to make the people at Perennial feel safe and welcome. So that's something that we're always trying to get better at, making sure that we are reflecting the history of the art forms whenever we can, and giving, you know, newer teaching artists a platform to get better and to learn about their craft as they continue to do their craft. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that I agree that mutual aid is something that you can incorporate into your own life in a lot of different small ways. I think about it also like sustainability. So when I started at this organization in this role about 5 years ago, I had always appreciated and prioritized sustainability kind of with a capital S. But it wasn't necessarily something I practiced on a daily basis. And it really has happened so gradually over the last 5 years with learning sort of those practical tips and tricks at Perennial that I take home with me every day. You know, we didn't used to compost, now we do. We literally buy fewer trash bags in a year than we used to because we're just not producing as much waste. And I see that with mutual aid as well, that once you sort of try it out, it becomes a habit so much more easily because it's just closer at the forefront of your mind. And once you do something once, you have a frame of reference for how to do it again, how to do it a little easier, how to make it a little better, how to find, once you make connections in your community, you already have them set up, so you're not starting at square one every time. So something I have participated in mutual aid on sort of a formal basis where, you know, someone has given me a route and I have delivered groceries, but I've also been in Facebook groups where, you know, if somebody that's a couple blocks away from me has the vulnerability to say, hey, you know, my SNAP benefits aren't going to come through until next week and I just need dinner tonight. If I'm already going to the grocery store and I have an extra $20 in my budget, I'm just going to make it happen because it's not difficult. It just takes you saying, yes, I can do that. Figuring out what's within your scope to say yes to. We see that all the time with folks at Perennial too, who are saying, hey, you know, maybe I don't personally have the funds to become a member. What else do you guys need? I have time. And we say, let's figure it out. You know, are we building sets for some community art project coming up and we need help sanding? That just takes hands. It's not about being a professional artist with 15 years of experience. It's just making that connection that we know we can call you and say, hey, can we use your help? And you saying, yes, you can. I think the less restrictions you have on what you can say yes to, the more you're gonna find those sweet spots of where you feel like, yeah, we're making a difference together. It's not about, like you said, not charity, it's solidarity. Let's make sure everyone has enough and let's thrive. So for folks that want to get involved in Perennial, I always say that the best place to start is to take a class. We offer over 300 classes a year in our space in all different art forms. And so whether it's darning and mending or you want to learn how to use the table saw, there's something for everybody here. We are mostly focused on adult beginners. So again, you do not have to come in the door with any experience. If you have it and you just want to relearn, that's totally fine too. And then also I'll just say that we are open Thursday through Saturday for shopping, salvage craft supplies. So if you're interested in fabric or yarn, most of our stuff is $1 a pound, and it's a great way to come see the space even if you haven't signed up for a class or not. So come say hi, check out our workshop, and I'm sure we'll have something exciting to tell you about while you're here. Also follow us on Perennial, at Perennial STL, for the best, most up-to-date information about what we're up to.